Hello and welcome back to TNWKS, the Now We Know show, the show where we discuss a topic of interest, and by the end we will have learned something new, and hopefully you will too. I'm Zak.
And I'm Buzz. And this week we're talking about stress testing your preps.
Ooh.
Ooh, this is an interesting one.
It is. Wow, 112 podcasts.
112?
That makes me feel like I need a coffee.
Sounds like I need a nice hot black Americano.
Now, if you wish to buy us a coffee, that would be greatly appreciated. You'll find all the details in the description below.
Oh, please do. Buy us a coffee. It's just the cost of a coffee.
Yep.
But it helps us to keep the Now We Know show going.
Keep the content flowing.
And all the other content that we do. Because we have so much. And we love our viewers, our listeners. You guys are the best. You're always feeding back to us and we love it. And so if you fancy buying us a coffee, we would really appreciate it. Thank you very much. And on with the show.
On with the show.
Okay, to start off with, it is time for
Weird and Wonderful.
Time for me this week. I'm putting my Specto specs on.
Right.
Let's have a look. I've got a weird and wonderful.
Got a Weird and Wonderful. What's it going to be?
Well, obviously we've had.
Is there going to be a twist? I don't know.
Well, we shall see. Here we go. It is 7-foot dinosaur statue is so big you can see it on Google Maps.
So, 7 foot isn't that big.
Well, I think it's 7 foot tall but 12 feet long.
Okay, so it's quite large.
Okay, so it says, from passers-by making rude gestures to cute cats hanging out at some Roman ruins, Google Maps have captured all sorts of weird and wonderful sights while sending their camera cars out to view street view features.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
But how many times have you come across a 7-foot tall dinosaur while checking out your old street or hometown? This particular metal dinosaur statue is 12 feet long, there, and it's been featured on Google Maps since it was installed outside Myola, a homeware shop in Holmes Chapel, Cheshire, in 2022.
Wow, that's interesting. That actually reminds me of, I think it's somewhere up the A1,
yes,
Sandy Way. There's like
right
a similar type thing.
Yeah, if you people that go up past Sandy on the A1, there's a petrol station. There's a place that makes sheds. There's, funnily enough, an adult, dare I say it, sex shop as well, and it's a very strange little sort of number of things. But before you get to those, there's a place that's selling giant metal dinosaurs,
sculptures.
Yeah,
there was a giant scorpion, a triceratops.
King Kong there, didn't it?
Yeah, the giant monkey.
And
of course,
I think there was a giraffe at some point.
I mean, probably.
It's got a triceratops, as you say there.
I would love to know how much these things cost.
Well, this will give you a clue, maybe. Okay, because
I'm intrigued.
Shop owner Louise Metcalf dressed the dinosaur up for special occasions, including a Santa hat during Christmas and poppy adornments during Remembrance Day.
Oh, that's funny.
But Louise is in the process of closing down Myola to wind down for her retirement, which meant her huge dinosaur needed to go to a new home. Okay. She was inundated with at least 20 requests to buy the dinosaur after listing the statue for sale on Facebook for £4,995.
Is that it?
£5,000. Okie dokie. So anyway, last week.
Wow.
Right, so hang on, I missed a bit here. Yes, £5,000. So it says, last week he was dropped off at his new home, and for now he'll be kept in the front garden to be visible for Google Maps in the future.
Excellent.
So Matthew Riddle Roviera, that's a name, spotted the dino for sale and immediately asked his parents for the huge dinosaur as a 21st birthday present for himself.
Crikey, £4,000 for a birthday present.
£5,000.
Oh, £5,000.
Yes. At first, Dad, Dave Rovera, planned to reject the wild idea, but after some negotiations with Louise on price, they came to a deal. And now Matthew, who turns 21 in December, and has been a fan of dinosaurs since childhood, thinks that this is making this piece of artwork will make the perfect gift.
Excellent.
The dino is in pride of place on his family's front driveway, roaring hello to the neighbours. David explained Matthew's always loved dinosaurs and Jurassic Park, and even though he's not a young man anymore, he still loves it. So
excellent. There we are. That's the story. It's actually quite interesting you bring up the Google Maps thing, as purely per happenstance, I did actually discover that I was on there.
Did you?
Yeah, it was in my old car, actually.
Oh, yeah, you can see a car from it, yeah.
And I was actually driving, and I can't remember why I searched this up actually, but I've discovered it. It was St Albans Way when I
Yeah.
was going to some parking that I park around,
Okay.
around the leisure centre there.
Ah, when you used to work down there.
Yeah,
As a
and
climbing instructor.
as a climbing instructor, I do so many
So many
things.
things.
And yeah, I got caught on the Google Maps.
Well,
I'm not sure if it's been updated since, but
yeah, well, they do
quite
kind of
interesting.
update it once in a while because I'm sure other people do this. You kind of look at your own home from
That's
above,
it, yeah.
and you can see where things have changed to bits and pieces. Because I think we've got your when you were doing your stunt training.
Yep.
And we had a trampoline down in the orchard.
Yeah.
I'm sure the trampoline is still.
Is it still there?
Still there.
Wow.
Well, it's still there in the Google Maps world, but
Yeah.
it's not there in the real world. I think the most weird, well, not weird thing, but when I was searching around, I think I was going somewhere in London, and I was Google mapping around London, and obviously using the
Street view.
the street,
stuff.
well, not street view, the sat night
Yeah.
image view, and over one of the parks there was a plane, so it's a full passenger plane.
Wow.
It looked like it was just parked in one of the parks in London.
Yeah, because
it was
obviously
obviously
you don't know.
flying at the
Yeah,
time,
that's funny.
but it was like dead, just like there, like it was stuck in a park.
Like a moment captured in
Captured.
time.
Yeah, which is quite funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, Google Maps. I'm sure maybe we could do a podcast on weird and wonderful things from Google Maps.
That,
Maybe we can
I mean,
find
we
something.
literally have the entire world to search.
Yeah,
So
there must be some things out there.
maybe
Anyway.
yeah, okay.
Anyway, on to this week's. Yes, it's another fabulous prepping
Prepping episode.
Uh,
Kind of a section of prepping that I hadn't really considered.
Well, yeah, we
What really like inspired this episode?
well, we talked a few weeks ago with our prepper expert Chaz Albrighton, and we decided we were going to do a prepping episode where we were going to stress test bug out bags, and we were going to just set up a pseudo situation, which meant that we were going to bug out and then basically stress test everything that occurs from getting from A to the safe area B to putting the camping up, your tentage and everything, or whatever it is your shelter you're going to do.
Yeah.
Cooking your food supplies, water, sanitary, requirements, and everything else. And that is still on the books.
Yeah.
Yeah, that we're still going to do. However, the other day, what prompted this particular podcast this week was we found ourselves in a situation.
Yeah.
Which actually, the duration of the situation lasted long enough for us to start stress testing our preps at the time.
Yeah.
Now that might
This was an unexpected situation.
So, to put it into context, because as we often say, we are very crepuscular with our working environment.
Pulling out the posh words already.
Especially this time of the year, because we work during the dusk and dawn periods as surveyors.
If you're asleep, we're awake.
Yeah, while you're napping, we're usually wide awake. We're not getting back until the middle of the night, or coming home. When everybody else is going to work, we're coming home to bed. So we move in these odd hours in our shifts during the summer, and we were heading off to a place called Farnham, which is round sort of southwest London on the M25.
It's not really the destination that really matters.
No, but it kind of is, because
in context.
It was putting in context. It was a longish journey. We'd expected at the time. It's going to take us about an hour and a half from where we were leaving.
Yeah.
And we got onto the A1 heading south, and then up pops the sat nav saying there's been an accident ahead.
Yeah.
And literally within 60 seconds, we'd pulled to a halt.
Yeah.
And everybody had. And that's
for miles.
For miles. I don't know. I hate to think how high that went up the A1. I reckon it went past Sandy, to be honest with you. But it was. I think the incident was down sort of Hatfield, Welling Garden City area.
I don't know the specifics of that.
But we were stuck on it. Team leader that contacted us via phone, she was stuck behind us, somewhere about a mile behind us. And time ticked away.
Complete standstill.
So there we were in this complete standstill, and 2 hours, was it? About 2 hour duration we were stuck there. And of course, so we started to observe the way that people were reacting to this. And then we started to think about and discuss, didn't we, about, well, what if this was a bug out situation?
Yeah.
What if something had occurred to make people suddenly say, we got to get out of here.
Mhm.
We're going to do, and everybody discusses this in the preppers world. We're going to jump in the car. We're going to evacuate. We're going to get out. Maybe we've got our end
goal, our place we're going to bug out to.
Our bug out place, our place of safety. But of course, once you're on the road,
so is everyone else.
If something occurs and everything suddenly stops, what do you do?
Yeah.
So this is what prompted us to talk about it, because what we'll do is we'll talk about the reality of what happened.
Okay.
And then we'll go on to the speculative side of this.
Yeah.
So initially, we're stuck. The car is dead stop, and everybody's sitting there, and you're sort of like tapping your fingers and wondering what's going on. And then slowly, people are turning their cars off. The ones that don't automatically turn themselves off these days.
Yeah.
So the engines are going off, and then you noticed after probably about half an hour. Yeah, maybe it only took about half an hour before people started getting out of their cars.
Yeah, and this is insane.
In the middle of
what is usually a non-stop motorway,
and people are getting out.
It would be something you'd really think to be like a completely unbelievable scene.
Yeah, and so they're getting out, stretching their legs and things. And I thought, well, okay, I've had enough of sitting in the car, so I go out and stretch my legs as well.
Yeah,
and then progressively more and more people are getting out of the cars, and then people started to walk, didn't they? Considerable distances from their cars. To kind of come down to find out if they could find out what was happening.
Well, that was the thing. When it got further along in this actual traffic jam, there were people that when it started to kind of gear up and things were starting to moving, they had to sprint all the way back to their cars.
Yeah, that's kind of getting to the end of the story. But yeah, they were having to run back to where they'd left their cars,
which was a crazy scene.
But okay, so we were starting to get information coming through on the why there was a hold up. I believe it was I still don't know the details. It was an accident. Some people were saying it was an accident. Some people were saying that somebody was threatening to throw themselves off a bridge. But whatever the situation was, we had 6 ambulances come past us on the hard shoulder. Police cars came past us on the hard shoulder.
The works.
So we were sitting there, and then so an hour's gone by. And it's after about an hour, then you start noticing people heading for the hard shoulder because they decided they needed a wild wee break. So they're going off for a wild.
I can attest that was something I did partake in.
So you're in this situation. So if you're thinking, okay, let's put this into the bug out scenario situation. You've decided your bug out plan is to load up your vehicle
with your goods,
and ideally. Okay, because preppers do things differently. Okay, I suppose lots of people have different plans. I'm sure there are just people out there that, and maybe it's just out of circumstance that they don't necessarily have the facility of a safe place to go. They just say, "I'm going to go out to the countryside."
Yeah,
without any more specific destination. I'm just
see what happens.
I'm going to get out of the town. I'm going to get out of the city.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other people are going to say, I'm going to get out because I'm going to go to my final destination, which might be the coast, or it might be another property they own inland.
Yeah.
Or somewhere, in Wales in the mountains or something. We're in Middle England, so. And then, And if you thought about your preps and you have physically got an end destination, then ideally that destination will already be stocked with preps.
Yeah.
So in that sense, in a kind of a way, that's not too bad because you don't have to take a lot with you.
Yeah.
In the ideal circumstances, you don't have to take a lot with you. You just
have to get yourself there.
You need to just get yourself there with the possibility of what this experience proved, that if the traffic stops dead and it isn't going and it is not going to go, that whatever preps you've got with you, you might have to sacrifice some of those and literally just go down to your bug out bag and get on foot and get going.
Yeah.
However, saying that, not everybody on the road is going to be a hardened prepper.
No.
Even though, and I've said this before, we did a podcast on it, even the government themselves are trying to get the whole of the country to at least become preppers for a minimum of 3 days. So most people on that road, if they're
Not really widely like advertised though, is it?
It's still not, no. But if you are suddenly forced for whatever reason, whatever circumstances has caused a mass exodus onto the roads, a lot of people aren't going to be prepared for that. They're just going to jump in their car and go. And we're going to touch. We are going to touch a little bit upon the facts that at this present moment in time in the UK, we've got a lot of riots going on.
Yeah, that suddenly just broke out seemingly overnight.
I don't want to go into too much of a political view on this because the riots kind of started because we had that stabbing attack of the young schoolgirls, which is incredibly upsetting, and our hearts go out to the parents and everything. That's terrible. But I think it was because the person was the parent. I mean, I think he was born in Wales actually, but his parents were from can't remember. Come to me. But because they're seen by a lot of people as being of an ethnic minority, then the far right, and not everybody in this situation is far right. There's a lot of moderates involved, but the media are pumping it as far right. But those causing a lot of trouble, which I do not condone, are far right people that just want to get out there for a punch up, and so they're going out there, and suddenly we've got a situation of civil unrest.
Yeah, okay, that's what we're getting to.
And I think it was also tied in to do with that. Was it Glasgow Airport or something where that police officer was kicking that guy on the head?
I don't know. There's probably a multitude of factors that have really stirred the situation into.
What really has stirred the situation up has been disinformation on social media.
Oh yeah, it's abound.
It's
always been abound.
It's the disinformation that floods social media, and then people just jump on the bandwagon before fact checking and stuff. And people get hot under the collar. And there was a lot. And I've got to say, in the UK, with the continual kind of flow of people coming across the channel and everything, and the amount of money it's cost to put them up, and people just the moderate people in the country feel it's unfair.
There's a lot of frustration.
When pensioners recently have had like their winter heating allowance taken away from them, and then other things. So there is a lot of tension and a lot of simmering, and it hasn't taken a lot for this to suddenly burst forward. And today at day recording, we watched the news, and it was saying that they reckon it would probably be, there's about 100 protests that are on the books for tonight.
That's insane.
And so
that is truly insane.
The police are drafting in extra thousands of police in order to hopefully stop these 100 protests turning into a widespread breakout of more riots. And so the whole point of bringing that into this conversation is because there you have a situation of civil unrest, that gets spoken about a lot in the
prepping community. It's very much one of those kind of hot topics.
What happens if civil unrest breaks out? What do you do?
Regardless of reason, how do you I don't say combat, but like deal with that situation?
How do you deal with that situation as an individual or as a family?
A small group.
And in a situation where perhaps you don't have the authorities there to contain it.
Exactly. One would hope that would be the case, or that things would be at least be managed to a certain degree, that your safety would be ensured, but you can't be sure of that.
So if you've got a situation of, say, this kind of thing happening that's happened over a few days,
breakout suddenly out of nowhere,
it's happening right in your community, and then you think, I feel really unsafe, I'm getting out of here. So and then you leave, and so you suddenly got this bug out situation, and
which leads to the potential of, if everyone's doing the same thing, the pile-ups, the traffic
congestion.
Exactly. That's very much the thing.
Police perhaps even blocking off roads to stop traffic flow and things.
Exactly.
And the fact that when these things have flared up, people's vehicles have all been set on fire. So you might have a vehicle outside your house.
We've been seeing some very crazy scenes that we just would not expect to see.
You want to bug out.
Recently.
That's your bug out vehicle, and the next thing you know, it's on fire. So
what's your plan B? What are you going to do?
So we've discussed.
Do you bug in? Do you bug out with another vehicle? Do you have another vehicle?
That's it. Well, that's why
do you need another vehicle? That's the question.
We follow that PACE scenario where you've got your primary plan, and you've got your alternative plan, and you work your way through it. You've got to have all those backup plans. But anyway, back to what we were talking. So we've got civil unrest in different areas of the UK at the moment, and we found ourselves in this sort of like pseudo situation stuck on the A1.
Thankfully, it was nothing to do with
No, there was nothing to do
these
with
situations.
unrest. No, there was nothing to do with unrest, but the fact is, you could equate yourself being in that situation.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then we started to notice what was happening. So, we said about an hour in, people are going into the toilet and everything. And then people were starting to come out, and I had some bottles of water in the car. Okay, because we always keep preps in the car. And somebody came over to us and said, "Oh, have you got any water? I'm desperate for a drink, And it's like, yeah, okay. I gave him a bottle of water. That's fine, That's what you do. But you start to realise that then, the longer the time passes on, the more and more people go, I've got nothing in I've got no drink.
No.
I've got nothing to eat.
It's that desperation, isn't it? That slow build.
And then what happens is somebody down the line says, "Oh, that bloke over there, he's got stuff.
He's got some water. Go ask him."
Go ask him." So,
and I suppose in that sense, it gets to that point where you've got to say no to these people.
Yeah. And then you start...
In that mentality, it's a kind of like a first come, first served basis until there isn't anything left. But is it right for someone who has done this perhaps for themselves to be helping the other people? Surely there is a line between being a good citizen,
just a nice human.
Being someone like that, and then somebody taking advantage of your kindness.
Well, of course, what happens is when somebody wants something and you've got it and they haven't, then
they want it.
Then they'll go.
They're not taking.
They'll go from being nice to being you're hoarding.
Yeah.
You're hoarding.
Yeah.
You should share. I want what you've got.
Yeah.
You're the one who's being. You're the mean person.
Yeah.
And so you could see that this could easily break down
into a kind of contentious situation.
And then if you've got a situation where the vehicles really aren't moving, and you've got a lot of preps in your car, before you know it, you could easily be descended upon by a mob, because there were a few cars of young youths that were around in our particular vicinity on the motorway. And if they all decide to club together and go, here, mate, you want to, we need some of that, we need some of that. Or you could be in a situation.
Yeah.
So it was a good stress test to start thinking about things.
You could be thrown into this completely random situation. You do not know who's going to be parked next to you in this. It could be anyone.
Mm-hmm.
They could be nice, they could be mean, they could be quiet, they could be loud. You don't know.
Yeah.
It's a gamble.
Exactly. That was interesting, but it was interesting to watch how people were coming along. And so
thankfully we were with a rather friendly group.
Bunch. Well, that's it. Yeah. It was what was that chap's
Martin,
name?
Wasn't it?
It wasn't Martin. I think it was like Max or something. But this chap came down, didn't he? And he was a really nice bloke, and we had a good old chat with him about things, and because he was wondering what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And offered him a drink, and he didn't want to drink. But the point is, you need to be in a situation where even just stuck, and we were stuck, I think, for, as I said, 2 hours.
Yeah.
If you're stuck in a situation like that, you do want to have some preps in your car. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we revert it back to, we're not bugging out exactly, but we are just find ourselves in a situation which we find we haven't got stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It makes you remember that it's not a bad thing to make sure that you have got some supplies in your car. So you've got some snacks, which is generally a long-lasting snacks that are not going to melt because your car gets out. I mean, we've actually had a few days of summer in the UK. So what you don't want is things melting in your car.
That's not going to be very helpful at all.
You don't want food stuff that is going to go off because of the heat. I've got to say, you can't escape that one thing, can you, when it comes to water in your car?
What? Like getting warm?
That moment of popping the bottle open and drinking lovely warm water.
It's not great. It's not great.
But out of necessity, I'd rather have warm water than that.
Well, in that sense, would it be then an idea to have some form of cool box in there?
Well...
But that would obviously... take some maintaining, surely.
Well, cool box now. You can't really have a cool box, and you can get those electrically powered ones, I believe.
But again, that's relying on power.
I don't think that's really. I think
it's gonna make do.
I think it's just make do. But the thing is, if you're in a situation and you've got water and you've got, and probably not a bad thing to make sure you've got an excess of water. I want to say an excess of water because if you have got people around you,
Yeah.
and they are in need of some water, and you've got enough to share with them, then
Yeah.
you can kind of make a friendly community around you,
Yeah.
perhaps, you know.
But again, it boils down to that kindness, and then somebody doesn't
Yeah.
feels left out, and then they
Mm,
jump on your back
yeah.
and go, "Ugh, I want your stuff."
I want your stuff. I want your stuff.
But it does get to a point, and I assume that a lot of people will have a different breaking point, because some people aren't as resilient as other people when it comes to these types of situations. Some people can bite the bullet and deal with it. Others are more panicky, more sudden in that panic.
Yeah, I think when we're talking about like the human condition and different people's personalities, you've got people that do panic in a situation, do get an attack of as my aunt used to say, an attack of the vapors. It's like,
that's quite an old school way of putting it.
I've got to sit down. I've got to sit down. So you get people like that, and you get people that get angry, or in a situation, even though we were only there for 2 hours, 2 hours dragged by, and people can, and a lot of those people at that particular time were probably on their way home from work, on their home from work, looking forward to getting home so they can have their dinner.
Yeah.
So the people can start getting what we call hangry.
Hangry.
Yeah, cross between hungry and then because
I've heard
you're
that
hungry.
term,
Because you're hungry, you start you get short tempered.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Combine that with also the fact that you're thirsty. Yeah, that's when things can flare up a little bit. So it was a good stress test of our just general preps in the car.
How do you think we did?
I think we did okay.
But there was room for improvement.
Room for improvement. There was 3 of us in the vehicle at the time, and so although we had plenty of water, we could have had some more snacks.
Yeah, I think that was.
I think if we'd been stuck in a situation where it had gone on for another hour or two, or even longer, just to have the EDC level of
stuff. Well, in that sense, potentially.
It was fine. It was fine. I suppose the thing was, it was my car, and I had the gear in there for me as an individual, because it's rare. Would you say it's kind of rare? All 3 of us about in a car at once. You know, I mean, normally if we're going out anywhere, we add some extra stuff to it.
Yeah.
But because we were going on a work job, we hadn't really considered, are we going to need any extra stuff?
Exactly. Perhaps giving a like a specific thing on this food front. What do we know that is long lasting and durable food wise? That would be a good kind of, if you had to eat it in this situation, you could. Would it be one of those like protein bar things?
As long as it's not got chocolate on it.
Well, one of those large ones we've done a review on the Zak Buzz review for.
Oh, you mean the one, the 45-year lasting ones?
Yeah, those ones. They'll last.
They'll do you all right.
They'll do all right in a hot car.
Yeah, they're designed for 45 years.
It's like eating a brick.
Yeah, it is. I think you can look more standard stuff. I mean, you sort of kind of like, I know they're not your favourite, but you kind of Harvest Crunch bar type things, things that are dry.
I'll take the 45-year one any day.
I don't know what it is really. It doesn't like.
As long as it's not one of those like sesame seed ones or whatever.
Oh god, that'll break your teeth.
Exactly, they're horrid.
That's it.
The ones you get in the ration packs.
The ration packs, yeah, the sesame seed. I mean, not be funny. I tell you, they're there to tease you, aren't they? Sesame seed snaps like tease you with being. I like sesame seeds.
Yeah.
I like honey.
Yeah.
I want to eat it. But the bloody thing is trying to break my
rock
teeth.
hard.
You know, it's like what you don't want is a large dental bill in the apocalypse. Because there's nobody there to do your dentistry for you. It's bad enough when it's not the apocalypse.
Maybe there's a market for it. It'll be like Fallout, where you could sell your teeth in for bullets.
Oh, there you go. Or change them for bullets.
Yeah, that's it.
Bullet case teeth. So that was a stress test this week in the car, and even we felt maybe we should just have a few more snack things.
Yeah, it's like we had some shortbread biscuits, but they just weren't cracking it for me.
And I felt I wanted to help the people around us.
Yeah.
It would have been nice to be able to just share out a bit more. But
so, hypothetical question.
Yep.
Say we didn't know what was actually going on. We didn't know how long this situation was going to last. Would you find yourself as giving to other people, And at what point would you say enough is enough? I need to get out of here. I need to leave the vehicle.
Now that's a good question, because
I kind of asked you two things there.
I'm going to say that initially you're going to try and you feel obliged to stay by your vehicle because
it's your vehicle.
It's your vehicle, and you're waiting for the
Yeah.
for the traffic to move.
Mhm.
Now let's just say the traffic isn't going to move, but you don't know that.
Yeah.
So then you're going to listen to or watch stuff on your phone to see if you can gauge what's going on.
Mhm.
Maybe other people. There was a lorry driver behind us who had somebody further down the line who was feeding him up-to-date information.
Yeah.
So that came back to us. So you're going to look at information and stuff, but as the hours tick by, you're going to have to get to that crunch point at some point where you're going to have to say, I need to abandon the car because it's not going anywhere. And I suppose situations like that, which are a reality and happen more often, is when cars get stuck in snowdrifts.
Yeah.
And that's when people go, well, I've got to get out of here.
Yeah.
That's
you often get that in like those survival stories you see on the TV, on like the survival channels or whatever.
But people like just on the motorway when there is a snowstorm, they are forced to abandon their cars and get to the nearest service station or something. But if you're in a situation where the traffic isn't moving anywhere, then you might have to just say, okay, we're 6-8 hours down the line. You'd like to think by that kind of time you'd have answers. You will have some answers as to what's going on.
Yeah.
Because it's not easy, is it, to abandon your vehicle?
No, I'd say it's very hard to abandon anything.
So I think you'd have to go that one step.
Because there's that attachment.
I think you'd have to go one step further and say you found yourself now. The information has come through when you're in a situation that is dire, isn't going to change. Something has gone wrong, and that traffic is just not going to be moving.
It's there to stay.
It's there to stay. So, try and answer your other question about when do you give up handing stuff out, I think the thing is you perhaps you've got two options. You either just don't from the onset. Mm-hmm. You don't kind to your fellow.
You don't allude
to the fact that
you've got these things.
You completely no, I don't allude to I've got anything. Mm-hmm. I think I'd find it hard to do that. I think initially I would still be a nice guy and sort of say, would you like a bottle of water? Mm-hmm. But I think I'd probably preempt that with, would you like a bottle of water? It's my last one. Yeah.
Right. Okay, I see what you're getting there.
Trying not to say that I've got any more.
Yeah.
In order that whoever sort of says anything doesn't
suddenly.
He's got a boot full of water down there.
Yeah.
He's got a boot full of snacks. And then you'd have to make a decision. But of course, then you need the kind of your packs in the car to be able to stick them on your back and then load up your gear and get out of there.
That's very true. And again, those packs, what size are they? How much you put in it? We've done.
The thing is, we did have packs.
Exactly.
We got our packs with us, and in a I don't really would call it end of the world scenario, but if it was a very, very serious scenario, and you just felt I've got to get out of here. If you were looking down the line, for example, and you started to see sporadic bits of violence breaking out because people are starting to
fires.
And you think this
things
is
like that.
Everything
smoke.
Is starting to, there's smoke coming out. Things. Social order is breaking down on the motorway. People are starting.
People running.
People are starting to lose their rag, go rogue or feral even. Then the packs that we had have got stuff in it that I don't need. Why would I need tripods, for example, in a survival situation?
There's that.
I'll drop stuff out, put the essential stuff in. Up the embankment.
But then there's that in my mind that I know that I wouldn't potentially need in that situation my tripods or anything. Okay. But I would find that grueling.
I know you don't want to give any.
I would find that grueling to like just drop.
Okay, so my only other suggestion would be in that situation, if you've got gear that you don't want to lose, if you leave it in your car. And as we've just described, the situation has broken down so far that cars are on fire. We've got bands of, roaming bands of people trying to like search other people's cars for what they can get hold of and things. Then I would take the kit out, get up the embankment, and find somewhere that you could dump it in a bag of its own. Separate the bags up, stick it there, and just cover it up in a bramble bush or something, and just say
Right.
because you know your car's going to get wrecked. Yeah.
Yeah.
So just get it out and
Get
put it somewhere.
yeah.
And you say, right, well, I know it's
For
there.
for potential pickup.
I know it's there.
I think that'd be a happy medium.
There's a potential pickup, and from where we were, our immediate plan, what would it have been from that point?
I don't know. It would have been get up the bank.
Yeah, but where would we gone from there?
No, I don't know.
Well, what is the ultimate plan from that point?
Get home. Get home. Okay.
Exactly.
That's what you mean.
It's to go home.
I was thinking very immediate, like go to the nearest place to get food.
It's the nearest place to get food.
I'm hungry. I was hungry at the time.
Yeah,
Come on.
Yeah, I mean, okay, but if you've got a complete breakdown of society and this whole, that's why I said we've gone from the reality of what happened to now we're going into our made up scenarios. But then your local service stations are being ransacked.
Well, yeah.
So your plan would be to basically make your way to your safe area.
Yeah.
To head
Which
home.
for us would be home.
Would be initially home, and then to our secondary safe place after that, if that's not feasible.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's that, and so I think to round that part of the discussion up on stress testing your preps, if your part of your prepping plans are to bug out, you might not be facing the real reality of thinking about it, because in a situation you might not actually get very far. You might find that might be your plan, but you're only going to get 2 miles down the road before everything is stopped. Or you might find you get 50 miles down the road and everything stops. And then where are you? I don't know. You might be 50 miles away from where you wanted to go, or 50 miles away from getting back home. So, and have you got the facility in your vehicle with the stuff that you got to leave the vehicle? So you got to think. I think these things are all serious things that individuals have got to think about.
Using a different story that's popping to mind on this stress testing side of things. Obviously, there is that kind of popularized idea of the Doomsday Preppers show and things like that.
Which we're not into.
We're
practical preppers.
But obviously, every episode you'd meet a new family, group, person, individual, whatever, and they would basically say their plan, whether or not they bug in or bug out, and if they bugged out, they would enact their plan.
Yeah, and they usually chuck everything in a big 4x4 and trundle off down the road like there's nothing stopping them.
But one that was kind of a bit odd was one where there was somebody living on the coast. They had like a canoe type set up, and they then had to hike up a mountain and things to get to their bug out location, and everything for them in this situation was going wrong. There was rough seas. They didn't have any boots to climb up the mountain.
Oh no, he lost his boots.
They didn't lose them.
Oh, yeah.
They were just like those kind of people that they didn't.
Oh, they hadn't thought about boots.
Yeah, they hadn't really.
Trainers.
No, they were in feet.
They're just their bare feet.
Just their bare feet.
Oh no,
that was the kind of lifestyle they lived.
And then they found themselves in a situation.
And they were climbing up the mountain, getting
cut feet
and stuff on the rocks and things.
Ouch! I don't even like going down a beach and across the shingle.
Exactly, but that was just their personal approach.
Okay.
At which point they were very suffering by the end of it.
So what were they doing?
And that brings into question the validity of that plan.
Yeah, that sounded like you got a lot of.
That was probably just an extreme one.
Yeah, but it sounded like you got a lot of holes in it.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's what we're discussing in this podcast.
Is a plan going to be bulletproof?
Yeah, I think
I don't think it is.
You've got to have the reality of saying, what if this happens? Am I just kidding? Am I kidding myself to make myself feel good? Oh, I'll grab me bug out bag, chuck it in the car, and I'll drive to here without giving it a second thought that driving to there might not even happen. Going on back again to, dare I say it, the riots we've been having. Watching on the news, and this is again a part of your bug in, bug out stress testing. They showed a gentleman who had got a house where in one of these areas where the riots had been happening, and he got his fence, and basically what he was describing to the reporter was that, and you can see this massive hole in his fence. Okay, the thugs had basically been ripping fence panels out and using them as weapons to throw at the police.
Yeah.
And then when they'd broken through his fence, they'd found that he's got logs in his garden. He's obviously got a log burner. He's got logs, so they were nicking all the log pile and then using those as missiles to throw at the police. However, what I noticed was that on top of his fence, he'd got all this jagged, toothed. And,
like your typical kind of don't climb
the fence because this is going to keep the intruders out.
Yeah.
But here we have a situation where basically we've suddenly got a breakdown of society. We've got total chaos
on the
street.
Yeah.
On the street, the police are trying to manage it.
Yeah.
His keep out my garden.
Unfortunately,
didn't work in the slightest because they just ripped a hole in the fence.
That was very much like a half-assed preventative measure for
a
home incursion.
That kind of security thing, it makes you feel
it's false.
A sense of security.
But it's a
I'll
false.
put spikes on top of the fence because that's going to stop people.
No.
And they just went straight
through
the fence.
Straight through it.
And when his wife was confronted with the people that were just then literally like a flood into his garden, he said his wife was absolutely terrified, grabbed the dog, and she couldn't use the car because the streets were like absolutely thronging with hundreds of people.
Exactly.
So she had literally run to a friend's
place. That's the thing. I think
get away from it. So if you're in a situation like that, as I've said this many times before, don't fall into the trap of thinking that your house
is a
fortress. That's okay. I'm going to bug in until everything calms down, because this was it was live. Watching it on the news, these thugs, these people who are basically destroying their own communities, ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. Again, I don't want to go into the politics of it or anything, but the fact is, when you've got that unstoppable force, that primal rage, no home is safe in that situation. Not unless you have literally got a purpose-built steel, panic room or something.
Yeah, we're not talking about like 300 Spartans or anything against the Persian Empire.
No.
Like, I mean, you've got to have the numbers in that sense to kind of really combat any kind of mob.
But we're not living in America either.
No.
So it's not like you are going to go, hey, I've got 10 little friends here that are going to say stop. That's not going to happen. You're not going to get your semi-automatic rifle out and start blasting away, and then all the crowd are going to say, "Oh, don't go near that house because we're getting shot at."
No.
We're in the UK. The best you probably got is a saucepan and harsh language. So, and put that up against the mad ferocity of riot.
People tearing down fences. I mean, if people want a weapon, they can get a weapon. It doesn't have to be DIY weapons. It could be anything. Anything can be used as a weapon.
Anything that is a club. Anything from a chair leg to a hammer.
People have made weapons since the dawn of man.
Sticks and stones. Sticks and stones.
That's a good analogy.
May break my bones, but harsh language will never hurt me.
When it comes to this bugging out situation, I really find it difficult to believe, especially in the UK, that car idea of I'm going to use the roads, I really don't think that's going to be viable.
No, I don't think it
in
will
the
be.
UK. It would be entirely unreliable.
I think
as to what you're going to face.
Well, again, it depends on the situation, because if you had a situation where initially you have civil unrest is breaking out for whatever reason is occurring, and then the authorities try to curtail that by stopping the movement of people, putting in roadblocks, maybe armies drafted. Well, after that, at that point, that's out of it.
But then I feel as if this could spiral into complete speculation after speculation.
Well, yeah, we're speculating because we're now at the stage of the show where we are literally sitting around having a round table, just throwing these ideas out, because we are into the realms of fantasy now. Our prepping starts and ends with practical prepping. We prep against natural disasters. We prep against fluctuations that occurred, like we had COVID. You could have a pandemic again. You don't want to be caught out without the toilet paper or the pasta, do you? So, but pushing it that little bit further, we have got civil unrest in towns and cities across the UK, and the potential of a lot happening tonight, which hopefully, fingers crossed, it won't. But it's happening, and I know. I think it was Elon Musk on X said about it's going to be civil war in the UK. we live in the UK, and no, I don't see it civil war. What it is groups of people that are just they're on a they're on
They're
a
looking for an excuse.
they're looking for an excuse to riot because either they are very, very right wing, or they're moderate people who are just seeing the injustice or how they see the injustice of things happening in the UK at the moment.
Yeah.
And they're just using these things as excuses and then just going crazy because let's face it, what is the point of smashing up your community? I mean,
It's nonsensical.
They destroyed a community library. It was on the news that I saw
Yeah.
earlier. They destroyed a community library which was there for children and pensioners, all because somebody spread a rumour that they'd pulled all the children's books were being replaced by the Quran. So they set fire to the place because that's
What you're getting very political.
Yeah, well, that wasn't me. This is one of the misinformation that fuels this kind of ridiculous behaviour. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe we should.
But if you're into a situation,
back.
If we're drawing it back, we're into a situation where civil unrest has occurred. Well, I'm afraid that's it. All rationality goes out the window, doesn't it?
Exactly.
All human kindness is just
dissipated.
Just not there.
Mm-hmm.
Can you trust the person next to you?
Well, hopefully, Jesus.
Well, hopefully. Yeah. Anyway, maybe we're going into too far into the realms of the doomsday prepper.
Oh my God, we've become so paranoid. We're paranoid of each other now.
No,
thanks.
No,
thanks, Buzz.
No, not at all, not at all. That's just being silly.
I know.
Bring it back into reality, though. Stress testing your preps is a good idea, whatever your plans are. In a situation where the weather's turned bad and you've got to get out of there because you happen to live in America and you're in Tornado Alley and the tornado's on its way and you haven't got a shelter to go to and you've got to get out there. You've got to be sure that you can get to a place of safety. You know? We don't have that in the UK, but we do have other natural disasters that occur, wildfires, floods, things like that. So, it's well worth stress testing your preps, stress testing your plans.
Yeah.
Stress testing everything that you've got to make sure that you can actually put it into action. Yeah?
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's what this discussion was all about.
Exactly.
So that's about it, really. Have you got anything to add to it?
I mean, we've been pretty, we've covered it all thorough,
I think we've been pretty thorough. Just the whole point of this particular podcast was to make sure that if you are prepping, it is vital that you stress test your preps.
Yeah, there's only so sure you can be before you have to actually put words and plans into action to prove to yourselves, most of all, that what you're doing
is right. For you.
For you.
For whatever your circumstances are.
And there we are.
There we go. Anyway, so that leaves us with
Wisdom of the Week.
Huzzah. And as always, Buzz is doing his best to try and get a Wisdom of the Week, which is kind of
wisdomy,
but also it kind of has something to do with what we're discussing.
Okay,
so
bestow your wisdom.
I'm going to bestow my wisdom. I've got my specto specs on. Okay, so this week's Wisdom of the Week is: success depends upon previous preparation, and without such preparation, there is sure to be failure.
Yeah. I think that covers
and you can apply that to all sorts of things in life. So, preparation is key.
Yeah.
And if you don't prep correctly, then you might be on the slippery slope.
To oblivion.
Oh, I don't know about that. But anyway, or to at least go, I'm really thirsty and I'm really hungry because I've been stuck in my car for 2 hours.
Anyway, if you enjoyed this podcast, please like and subscribe to this channel and comment below any suggestions of further topics or activities you'd like to listen to in future episodes.
Yeah, do put them down in the comments because we love your feedback.
And again, if you'd like to help support us, please buy us a coffee. That would be greatly appreciated. Thank you for all your support so far. We are almost at 2,000 subscribers.
Yay!
That's crazy. A year ago, we were shy of 1,000.
Yeah. Buy us a coffee. I mean, just think of us, poor old Buzz and Zak, stuck in a traffic jam somewhere.
Yeah.
We could do with a coffee.
I
do like my coffee. So thanks for tuning in. So that's a completely stress-tested goodbye from Buzz.
And a never leave home without it goodbye from Zak.
Goodbye.
See ya.